So my talk is on NativeScript. Has anybody ever used or heard of NativeScript? Cool. So NativeScript is basically a framework for building native apps. You can use JavaScript or you can use TypeScript and Angular too. You write XML that compiles down to native UI. So if you write a label in NativeScript, it compiles down to like a text field in Android and a whatever it's called in iOS, NS label or something like that. So why use NativeScript? I've been doing Angular for the last year and I've really enjoyed it. Angular is great. It really makes dependency injection easy, and I'll kind of show that later in a demo. And I really think it makes it a lot easier to test as well. It's cross-platforms, so you write it once, it runs on both platforms, but you still get the native interfaces, so it really feels like you're in a truly native app. And you actually are building real Android and iOS apps. I'll show this later, but in your NativeScript project, you can actually open up a folder and you'll see about the same thing you would see in Android Studio when you're developing an Android app. You can also reuse your business logic for your website if you have a website that does about the same things. You also get immediate access to native APIs, so as new APIs are released, NativeScript just can access them by default. So why not use NativeScript? So February 1st, NativeScript just released a big update, and before that update, debugging was very hard, but it's definitely greatly improved after this update. Error messages are bad when something goes wrong. It's hard to figure out what's going on with it. There's definitely a lot of gotchas with it. Like if you're writing TypeScript and you forget your .ts extension, it gives you this ridiculous error message and just doesn't work, but it doesn't complain at you. Logcat's not immediately available. Like they recommend you use Visual Studio Code for your development. You can also use WebStorm or whatever you want really. But it's really nice in Android Studio. You just have Logcat at the bottom. Here you actually have to go out and you can either open up Android Studio or get Logcat through your command prompt. And exceptions are displayed on the device. It's not brought back to the IDE, so when you have an exception, it just pops up a big block of text on the device, which is kind of a pain to work with. There's no compile or editor time warnings for XML layouts, so it's all, if you have an error, it's not going to tell you. You just got to work through it and build it, and then it'll tell you. And it's missing some native UI widgets, so your XML layout that maps down to native widgets, you don't have everything.
Quick question.
Yeah.
So coming back to the debugging and the exceptions not being brought back, but you still can do breakpoints, you can review variables at the specific breakpoint. It
Yep.
just when the exception blows up, you don't really see exception. Or
Yeah. So pre-NativeScript 2.5, you had that ability, but I would say that it doesn't count because it would take 5 minutes to load it up. So after 2.5, it uses Chrome debugging tools, so it's a lot better now, and you can get to that a lot faster. So here's some of the main commands for NativeScript. The first thing you need to do if you're going to start a NativeScript app is install npm, and you just do npm install NativeScript. That brings it down. Then this TNS stands for Telep NativeScript. So you do TNS create project name --ng, specifies that you want to build an Angular app rather than just pure JavaScript app. TNS run Android. This is also a new command after the 2.5 update, which bundles these into one. So before you'd have to add your Android platform, specify you want to run it on the emulator, and then if you wanted your your emulator to be automatically updated with new code, you would have to specify this live sync Android emulator watch. Now with 2.5, all you have to do is TNS run Android and it figures all that out for you. So that's pretty nice. TNS debug Android spins up a debugging session where you can launch Chrome debugging tools and step through your app. And TNS Doctor is very handy when you're first installing NativeScript. I've installed it on 2 machines so far, and both of them ran into a lot of trouble finding the Android SDK. And TNS Doctor kind of helps you diagnose that and figure out what's going wrong. So I've got a quick demo here. So I'm doing my NativeScript development in WebStorm, and this is just a really simple demo app that I put together. Anybody use Angular? A little bit?
Are you using Angular 1 or Angular 2?
I've done Angular 1.5 for the last year, but NativeScript uses Angular 2, so this is a little bit new to me as well. But here's what my app looks like. If you notice here, there's this platforms folder and an Android folder, and you'll notice this looks very similar to like your regular Android Studio project. You got your source, main, Java. And it doesn't actually compile, it doesn't transform your JavaScript into Java. It still runs on like the V8 JavaScript engine on Android. But I believe you can come in here and write your own Java if you want very platform specific things. So this app in particular is just Android, but you could, if I did TNS run iOS, it would also generate an iOS app here that could be open in Xcode as well. So here I've got my demo up here has one page, and I just kind of reproduced one of our, in our eHub app at Team Software, I reproduced one of our pages. So I've got an emulator here. I'm going to go ahead and do TNS run Android. And that's going to build my app, and it's going to throw it out here on the emulator. Okay, so really simple app. It's just making a hard-coded service call off to our backend. It's pulling the sound and it's displaying it. So kind of the way that works is we've got a service here. You can see all this is hard-coded. It's using this Angular HTTP. So all you need to do in order to use that is import it and then specify it in your constructor, and it injects it for you. So now I have this HTTP and I can just do a post. It's all hard-coded right now. And it is bringing back one of these schedule objects here. Then I've got my schedule Angular component over here. It's bringing that schedule into my component right here, and then it's just binding off of that. So if you look at my HTML, it's got some labels in here. Or it's not really HTML, it's XML. I don't know why it's .html. But so you've got a label. These brackets around text specify that you're one-way binding in Angular 2. So I'm binding scheduled work date to this label right here, and that's just my Newtonsoft formatted date string here. I didn't bother to format it to proper date. So it's really easy to build it out. Like if I wanted to add a button here, I could just do button text test button. And then we can use a tap event on it. We can say do something. Now this is going to look on my component for a function called do something, and it's going to execute it on tap. So we can come over here in the component. We can add a function called do something. Then we'll just define a new variable here. And this is all TypeScript here. So I can say test this dot test equals hello. So now that's going to call that. It's going to set my test variable here to hello NativeScript. Then I can come back over here. I'll just make a new label and I'll bind to that. So now when I save this, you should notice that it should automatically update in my emulator. It's very finicky, it doesn't always work, but it's nice when it does. Looks like it's not going to right now. Hit that, maybe it's starting. We'll just start it over here. So when that does work, it's really slick because you can change anything in your app and it's usually maybe 5 seconds and it's updated on the emulator there.
Is it consistently good or consistently bad?
When it does work, it's consistently good, but I've found that more times than not it fails and you have to kill your emulator and open it back up and then it works again.
Gotcha.
So now I have a test button. Yeah, so I clicked it there and now that label right below, I don't know how good you can see that, but that label right below says hello NativeScript now because it's binding to that new variable that I created. Well, you'll notice, I don't know how good you can tell, but this is a true Android button, like it even has the ripple effect from material design and everything.
Question.
Yeah.
So in that code, can you call the native, something native to the Android, like let's say show a toast instead of
Yep.
modifying a label, can you show a toast?
You can. I'm not sure how to do that, but I know you can. You can even get access to like stuff in the Android SDK, like a date in the Android SDK or whatever, but I'm sure for like a toast, there's probably a way to do it that maps to both platforms. I'm just not sure what that is. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the demo. It's pretty easy. It's just an Angular 2 app. Any questions on that?
Can you see the XML that they create? Because I imagine they're creating XML.
Should be able to.
And like they create a storyboard as well for iOS.
Let's see here.
You said it doesn't like change it over to Java code though, right? So it's
Yeah.
probably doing that all at runtime. So it's probably not actually generating like Android layout XML like this.
It definitely maps it to native layouts. I don't know where that resides. I would have expected it to be in here, but yeah, I don't see it. Yeah, not sure where that lives.
If you expand the assets directory, does it bundle all the JS in there? Under one of those? Yeah, it looks like it. So
Yeah, there's
it's
the
probably using
TypeScript.
some,
Should be able to see the J. Yeah, there's the JS it's transpiled into right there.
yeah, so it's probably,
Pages this might have.
because all the like layout inflator does with XML is just use reflection to create a button or whatever, right? So you could do the same thing. Just have your layout inflator use whatever you define here and use reflection to create that stuff that way too. It'd just be running on a JavaScript backend rather than Java.
Yeah.
Do you have to use TypeScript too, or do you just use pure JavaScript, like lower ESLint?
You can use pure JavaScript.
Does your application has to have AI? Basically, can you write a service with zero?
Just the service with it. I'm sure you can. I'm not sure how you do it. Like you should be able to open this project in Android Studio and do whatever you want with it. I don't think it's recommended, but I believe you're supposed to be able to do it. And kind of you'll notice here there's also CSS, so all of those are styled with CSS. So I've got a few styles defined here. Like my dot header class is just specifying like green font, that's this guy here. So should you use it? If you would have asked me a couple weeks ago before this big update, I would have said no for sure. But it's getting harder to make that argument. Like it seems really nice now. I would say you should use it situationally. I think you can build a really good app with it, but if you want to build the best app possible, then go pure native.
How does it phase out against, let's say, the Ionic?
I've never used Ionic. I think this compares most similarly with React Native. If you've ever used that. Yeah, I don't know much about Ionic.
Can you like do one screen in your current Android app with it? I know like a lot of people are doing that with React Native, bringing it in
Yes.
slowly. Can you bring it in rather than like if you start with this and add a Java class later, that's kind of the other direction, but would you guys be able to bring this into the team app?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how you would do it, but I've read that you can. Yeah.
How's like the community around NativeScript? Is there a lot of people using it, or are a lot of people making?
There was a few big apps that they listed on their site. It's backed by Telerik, which Telerik does like Fiddler. They have a pretty nice test studio. So I think of Telerik as a reputable company. So yeah.
You said you've been doing Angular for like the past year, right?
Yep.
Has it been with this or web stuff or?
Web stuff. Yeah. Not with this.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We're just kind of like we have pure native apps at team, and we're kind of going through a big restructure with all of our software, and we're kind of evaluating if we want to stay purely native or if we want to do something like this in the future.
Cool.
Yeah. Anything else? Cool. That's it.